His Excellency Mr. Vinay Kumar, our ambassador in Myanmar, Mr. Shyam Narsaria, President of OATA, Mr. Pradeep Ghorpade, all the other dignitaries present in the webinar, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I want to thank the organizers for inviting me. It's a very interesting subject and a subject which is relevant to us as Department of Consumer Affairs throughout the year. So as I mentioned earlier, pulses are a very important part of the food plate of uh, people across India. South, north, east, west, everywhere there is consumption of pulses. If you see the country as a whole, we consume about 270 to 275 lakh tons of pulses in a year, which is almost 27.5 million tons. In general, we produce about 255 lakh tons. So, as given the pulses as a whole, we every year have a requirement of about 20 to 25 lakh tons that requires to be imported. In terms of the composition of pulses that are consumed in the country, chana or the gram occupies the biggest percentage. It's about 47% of the country's pulses consumption is chana. And then it is followed by tuar, urad, moong, and then masoor. In terms of production, I think we are the most deficient in masoor, which is lentils, and we produce only about half of what we consume. So every year there is a dependence, and we do meet our requirements from the imports from Canada, Australia, and other countries. Today's webinar is focused on tuar and urad. As President OATA mentioned in his initial remarks, the production of pulses is heavily dependent on weather and other conditions. So there is a fluctuation every year. And also farmer keeps exercising his choices in a novel way every year, depending on which crop is expected to give them returns. For example, if we talk of the current year, the production is likely to be less. I'm talking of tuar now, less than what it was last year. So in terms of area sown, area cultivated, it is almost the same. But I think the weather conditions and a little bit of effect of the wilt disease in parts of Karnataka and southern Maharashtra, there have been issues. So we are expecting the production to be about 32, 33 lakh tons. Now that increases our requirement of import. And my guess is that we should be importing around 10 lakh tons this year. Now, where is this 10 lakh tons going to come from? It's going to come from East African countries and Myanmar, and both are our solid partners in terms of ensuring the availability and consequently the affordability in India. Like we are meeting here with the Excellency, the Ambassador in Myanmar. Only last Friday, I had a video conference with all our high commissioners of the East African countries, and we took stock of the position of the expected crop in 2023. And since the sowing season begins there now, it is currently happening, we wanted to provide some sort of a comfort level to the growers in East African countries that there is a market which is going to be available in India. So if they want to push up the production of tuar in those countries, they are most welcome, and we would not be found wanting in terms of facilitation of imports to this country. As Shyamji mentioned, and Excellency also mentioned, the free import regime in these dals have been extended till 31st March 2024. This is decided by a committee headed by Honorable Home Minister, which is a group of ministers with 5 ministers there. And I think they realized that by providing a consistent import policy on a long-term basis, it is a win-win proposition for both India and the countries that are exporting, because unless there is a consistency. The growers in the country, which are primarily going to export the crops, will not have will not be in a position to take that decision in the long term. So I think that has helped. And we saw last year, except a bit of increase in tour, which was about 8.7%. If we see from January to this January, I'm talking 22 and 23. I think all the other pulses in India, the prices either remain steady or there is some reduction. I will like to give a lot of credit to this consistency in import policy for the prices in India to have remained stable. Of course, I also want to thank OATA and the exporters from East African countries who have provided us very consistent supports. We've also very rigorously followed up the process of what is coming to the country, whether there is any difficulty being faced. And there were some incidents in Mozambique and in Myanmar also in terms of the funding issue and some bank transactions not being allowed under some confusion. So I would like to assure you that the way we took proactive steps, we engaged with the Ministry of Finance and Reserve Bank of India and our High Commission in Mozambique that we should not. It should not become a hindrance. These procedural things and things should come faster because it's good for both countries. So I want to assure you again on behalf of Government of India that we believe in consistent import policy. We will make sure that the imports, to the extent they are required in this country, to maintain the availability and affordability of pulses in 2023. The Government of India will not be found wanting. We will make more than the required efforts to ensure that seamless import happens, because I think all of us working for the same objective to ensure that the availability and the consequent affordability of the pulses remains at the optimal level in India. In terms of production of tour, we took stock because if we have to, if the estimate is that we will require about 10 lakh tons, then what is the exportable surplus in these countries? So, like I said, when we engaged with our high commissions in last week in East African countries, and now we are engaging here, I think the overall availability of tour will be around 14 to 15 lakh tons combined aggregate of both the geographies. And the exportable surplus is going to be around 11 to 12 lakh tons. That is our estimate. I mean, this may change because the year is yet to begin. So I think in terms of our requirement of about 10 lakh tons, we're going to be comfortable in tour. And we will ensure that there are no procedural hassles in bringing this stuff to India. In terms of urad, we are really dependent on Myanmar, and we understand the crop is good and the production is probably of the order of 7 lakh tons. And since 95% of what we import in urad comes from Myanmar, so that's a good sign. And we will ensure that, again, there are no procedural hassles in bringing this. One bit of caution or about this MOU thing. The Excellency mentioned that we have an MOU which was signed in 2021 for 5 years. And this is relevant for the East African countries also. See, when you have a free import policy, then this MOU thing becomes almost redundant. I mean, it loses its relevance because now there are no quotas, no restrictions, and the stuff can flow seamlessly. So last week when we engaged with our people in the East African countries, there was some talk of this being the already signed MOUs signifying some quota. So I want to dispel that notion that there is no quota. We have a free import policy, and this will be determined by the market and the trade. And we would ensure that whatever is required in the country flows seamlessly. I know there are issues. It has not been raised, but I would answer it before it is raised on the moong part. And I think you have to see the dynamics that operates and where we are coming from. We have to ensure that the domestic farmer also gets a good price for his product, and he does not get shortchanged by imports, not only in moong but in agri commodities and even otherwise. So as long as we are comfortable in terms of production, we would like to protect the domestic farmer. The moong sowing has been very good, and as you know, moong is a very, I would like to call it a casual kind of a crop. It grows fast. It grows in various parts of India. And last summer, the Narmada region of Madhya Pradesh, we saw a humongous rise in terms of cultivated area and production. So at the moment, we are very comfortable. But if it is required, there will be a reconsideration of the decision. So overall, once again, thanking you for inviting me here to talk to all the dignitaries here and to engage with our ambassador, Excellency Mr. Vinay Kumar. Once again, I would like to assure on behalf of Government of India that procedural hassles or any other impediments will not come in the way of seamless imports, which is driven by this policy decision that imports of these three dals are free till March 2024. This is a win-win proposition, and I think both sides must work together to ensure that in the end, like a good Bollywood movie, everybody is happy in the